If you've ever been trying really hard to do the right thing and to process really big things and to fight for something that matters and something revolutionary and something good, but the world or the justice system, life just isn't moving fast enough, this episode is for you. And what I'm going to cover today is how I feel right now, which is quite frankly pretty shitty. So if you've been struggling lately, uh, I can relate, and you just need to know that somebody else out there feels the same way. Take a listen. I probably feel the same way. So I'm going to just cover how I feel right now with the hope of connecting with you and letting you know that you're not alone, but also because I just got to get some of it off my chest. I'm also going to share just how to stay the course, even when you're really in the thick of the frustration, and also a couple encouraging words. So if you are a friend of somebody who's going through something really tough that seems very much outside of their control, or you are somebody who is in the midst of something really tough and you need the right words to ask for, when you know that you need support but you don't know what to ask for, I'm going to give you a couple of those suggestions. So sit with me a little bit, commiserate, relate, and maybe, just maybe, by the end of this episode, we will come to a hopeful place. Now, I want to be specific so that, I can be vulnerable enough that I can connect with you. However, I also want to protect my family's privacy. So I'm going to go for the middle ground of whatever that looks like. And in my last episode, I shared about, blending families and parenting. And I meant everything I said in that episode. That's what I'm always working for. But in certain circumstances, some days, it's just really hard. And I'm specifically referring to things that you have to deal with from abusive people, whether that person is somebody who, maybe it's your current partner's ex, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's just somebody who, in some manner, you are tied to who's abusive, and you just can't cut that tie for whatever reason, because there's shared children involved or because of whatever circumstances that just make it challenging. Or if you've been watching TV lately, and I'm not just talking about our, presidential situation, I'm talking about the patriarchy in general. And you're really tired of people who continue to use and abuse their power seemingly without consequence. That big situation kind of relates to my small situation, and it's just right under my skin. What's right under my skin is an abusive person in my life who's influencing people who I care about, and I'm doing absolutely everything I can every day to just breathe through it. Pray to my spirit guides to take the higher course, to focus on the planting seeds that I talked about. But some days, and I think this is really important to tell you, some days it's just so hard to not focus on all of the evil things that I can't control. And I'm talking about the nerve that people who have endless resources but no consequences have. The people who've done horrible things, the people who've traumatized families, the people who have abused people who I love. And it seems like they just get endless chances and endless resources and get to just keep doing whatever they want. And planting more seeds of evil and sickness without consequences. And how that feels for me right now, because I'm experiencing it personally, is it's this just bubble that goes kind of from my stomach up through my chest and into my throat. And it's just this bulbous thing that's taking up a horrific amount of space in me. And believe me, I've done, all the things that I usually do. I take walks, I dance, Hell, I burned mugwort, which is one of the, most intense things that you burn, similar to like sage when you're trying to release negative energies and kind of cleanse that. I've journaled, like I've kind of used all the tools in my toolkit. And don't get me wrong, they have helped. But I'm going through a season where, and this is, season, when I say that, I'm referring specifically to a couple days. Seasons can mean different things. I'm referring to just like a couple days to a couple weeks worth of like, shit, I just can't shake this negative energy that's not mine. And, just the nerve of some people, how unfair things seem to be. And it's just really bothering me. It's a bulb that's bothering me, but it also kind of sets my skin on fire, where you feel so jittery and antsy and you just want to create the justice that's not being done, but you can't. At least not any more than you already are, in that maybe you're taking legal steps or you're relying on, whether it be law enforcement or social services or whoever, to help you. But as we all know, a lot of governmental systems don't move very fast. And in the meantime, the victims or the people involved suffer for it. And that kind of thing gets right under my skin. Maybe you can relate with some of the things that you've heard on TV of just people continuing to get away with selfish, abusive, exploitative, I don't know why I struggle with that word so much, exploitative things, situations where they get to exploit people, take advantage of people, and it seems like they just keep getting more chances to be dicks. Meanwhile, you're over there fighting the good fight and it feels like you're getting nowhere. And there's so many different battles that I mean with that. Maybe you are in a situation with another parent who you are not with, that you can't control. Maybe you yourself work in social services and you're trying to help kids, but there's all this red tape kind of preventing you from really doing your job and doing right by the kids. Maybe you are in politics and you genuinely are in government because you want to make things better. But again, it seems like there's barrier after barrier and hidden agenda and sometimes open agendas that just are very self-serving. People who are at the top who care not for how it's going in the circle, care not for those around them. Top-down systems, they just don't work. And there's the bubble in my chest. There's the jitters in my skin. I talked about before the obsessive nature that abusive and narcissistic people can create. It's very easy to just become obsessed with those people because you're hoping for their downfall, or you just can't shake how angry you are at them. And you wish you could just scream some sense into them, but they'll never listen because they're sick. They only see the mirror. They don't see anything else. And so you're just left with all of this crazy energy inside you. And some days, no matter how much you try and you do all the healthy things, it just gets to you. And I'm somebody who used to feel ashamed of that. I used to feel ashamed that, someone got to me. And it's easy to do, right? There's so many tools of hell, I love the let them theory. And I love Mel Robbins for promoting it. But some days when I can't let them, I feel ashamed. Like, why can't I do it? But the reality is, it's not so easily done. That's why someone had to write a whole book on it. It takes a lifetime to learn the let them theory. And we've got to be proud of our steps. And as I think I shared in my last episode, we also have to be comfortable with letting ourselves feel what we feel. And right now, I feel insane and defeated by this just life-sucking, toxic situation that I just want to shake and move on. But it seems like it's never going to end. And I'm just down. And I'm pissed. And I'm jittery. And I've got extra space being filled in my stomach and my esophagus and my chest with this bubble of just rage and compassion and frustration and illness and just everything ready to just burst. And it's really tough. But I'm going to tell you now some of the things that have helped And so if you are somebody who's trying to deal with a toxic situation, you know, or you're somebody who's trying to help you with that toxic situation, let me tell you the things that definitely give temporary relief, but also are seeds to be planted and kind of hold on to, you know, the things you keep coming back to. Because even though these jittery, frustrated feelings are overtaking me, I do still have these seeds that I can hold on to that kind of help ground me so I don't just completely lose it. And when I started feeling these feelings and they were overwhelming me, I told my husband about them, even though I was nervous because I didn't want to offend him, because they have to do with his situation with his ex. And they bubbled up. I didn't want to spark defensiveness in him. I didn't want to spark anxiety in him. But I told him anyway, because I knew if I didn't, it would just get worse. And so if you have a partner or somebody who you trust and you know that you can tell them how you're feeling, even if you're a little bit nervous about it. Give them the chance, you know, be willing to grow together and to try, you know, processing things together, to work through the defensiveness together. And I'm really glad I told him. In the moment, it was hard for us to comfort each other because he has a lot of anxiety and frustration about it too. But he said something later as we were going to bed that I wasn't expecting him to. So, you know, we got through that conversation fine, you know, but I was anxious. I was jittery. It was hard for me to feel comforted because I was so high up in frustration and anger and anxiety. But by the time, you know, like I said, bedtime rolled around and he was saying goodnight to me, and this is something he's really good at. He just out of nowhere told me, "You're a really good person." And that was the last thing that I heard before I went to sleep. You're a really good person. When people are in the thick of trauma or anxiety or anger, sometimes what they need the most is a statement that reminds them of who they are. Because what I heard when my husband said, "You're a really good person," it brought me back to my soul. It reminded me that, hey, I'm doing the best I can. I am a good person. Despite all of this bullshit, I am a good person. And he thinks I'm a good person. He's not mad at me for being frustrated about things that very directly affect him and his kids. Okay, he's not mad at me. He's not frustrated. I don't have to feel guilty for feeling all of this frustration about the situation. He sees me as a good person. So if the person going through this is your partner, remind them of the core things about them that you believe no matter what feelings you're going through. Tell them, you're a really good person. You're a really compassionate person. You're a really brave person. You're a really patient person. Because often what people need to hear is that they're not every feeling they have in a fleeting moment. They need to hear who they are at their core. And they're a good person. They're a compassionate person. So if you have a partner, even just somebody very dear to you who's really in the thick of anger, sadness, fear about a situation, anchor them to themselves. And it can be as simple as, you're a really good person. You're a really grateful person. Because what he did when he said that is he sort of disarmed all of the guilt that I felt for being frustrated, or even sometimes, you know, you feel like you backtrack, right? Like you feel like you make progress with a toxic situation, with something like the let them theory, with letting that person be crazy and then focusing on what you're doing, you feel like you make progress. But then the second that you kind of get knocked down and have that frustration again, you're like, oh, fuck, you know? Guess I'm backtracking. Guess I wasn't as far along as I thought I was. Well, first of all, I'm here to tell you that you are. You are working really hard at what you're doing to rise above a really shitty situation that you did not create. You are making so much more progress than you know. And if you love someone who's making progress, remind them of that. Remind them of their core. And on that note, if you need to talk to somebody about your situation, I'm going to give you some advice based on real experience. Be very careful who you choose to talk to about your toxic situation. And I say that because even if people are well-meaning sometimes, they're also rooted in their own bullshit. And sometimes people want to listen to your story just for the sake of the gossip. Because let's face it, some of us are involved in some batshit stuff, right? Like there's some crazy stories out there. And some people just want to hear the drama, and sometimes they even feed it. And here's a clue that you're maybe talking to somebody who's a little focused on the drama. They might say things like, oh, well, are they doing this again? Or what about this situation? Are they doing that? Do you know anything about beep bop? If somebody is in it for the drama, they're going to be more focused on the situation and how crazy that person has become or what crazy thing they're doing next. If somebody is really in it to help you, they're going to be focused on you, and they're going to ask you how you feel, and they're going to be centered on giving you the affirmations that you need. And often for folks out there who are trying to help, affirmations are key. Please don't give unsolicited advice unless somebody specifically says, I need you to help me. I need you to help me know what to do. And if you're unsure, you can always ask. You can always say, and I think this comes from Mel Robbins too. So I think she gives the advice of, okay, do you want to hear what I think? Or do you just want me to listen? It's okay to ask that question. Or do you just need to hear, about my love for you? It's okay to ask people what they need. Because I think we all know, either from receiving it or giving it to someone who told us, no, nobody likes unsolicited advice. Okay? Because it's very hard as a third party to come in and fully know the depth of a situation. And when somebody is really in a sensitive place, more often than not, it's just going to lead to an argument or that person shutting down. So if you are somebody who is listening to somebody who's in the thick of some bullshit, ask them, do you want to hear what I think? Or do you just need me to listen? Or do you need to know how much I love you and why? It's okay to ask that. And if you're the person who's talking about a really tough situation, it's okay to preface it by saying, I just need to get this out. I just need you to listen. I don't need any advice. Or it's okay to say, I'm going to tell you about a situation. I need some advice. Or I got to tell you about a situation and I just need you to tell me how much you care for me. I need to hear about your love for me. It's okay to ask for those things and to clarify. And when it comes to choosing who you tell, based on your situation, maybe, I wouldn't say totally write someone off who you think is in it for the drama, because sometimes even people who love us and want to be there for us just kind of steer off the path and get caught up in it. If it's somebody who you sense really does love you and could be corrected, maybe, like they would, if they knew that you felt like they were just getting caught up in the drama, you could just say, hey, I don't really want to answer any more questions about what's going on with this person, but I just need your encouragement about me, right now. It's okay. So you can give people another opportunity. However, if you're like, no, I know this person, they're just caught up in the gossip, they're probably not going to deviate from that, it's okay to not tell them that anymore. Because what happens if you tell your very personal, very frustrating thing that you already have a lot of mixed feelings about, what happens when you tell it to the wrong person is you put a whole lot of energy into telling that person, only to be met with, oh, they just care about the drama. They don't care about me. And then you're just feeling totally deflated and frustrated and maybe even angrier because you're mad about how they reacted. So if you're going through a really tough situation, be careful who you choose and make sure it's somebody who's not going to spread your business. Because people love to do that too, right? If somebody's got some tea and some juicy shit, they want to spread it because they're excited that they have the information. It's a fascinating story to talk about. I mean, I can fully admit I've been caught up in that in the past where I'm like, oh my God, can you believe this? And it's just, it's catty and it's crappy. And I've gotten way better with keeping people's trust, over time. So just make sure that whoever you're telling your business to is somebody who can give you what you need, whether that's just to listen, advice, or affirmations, and that there's somebody you can trust who's not going to blab your business and who's not going to get caught up in the drama of it. And decide if, maybe some people are getting caught up in it, but they can be corrected, or if you just need to not talk to that person anymore. That's okay too. So I talked before about landing in a hopeful place, and I want to say before I move on with how to get there and the thing that's worked for me more than anything, I just want to say it's okay to accept where you are. Don't get mad at yourself. Speaking from experience, I get mad at myself when I feel frustrated, especially when the situation is related to the children involved with the situation. I feel guilty and I feel mad at myself for being so irritated and uncomfortable. Be patient with yourself. You're doing the best that you absolutely can. And the reason that you're frustrated and angry is because you care. Especially if you're like me and you're somebody who wants the world to be better. That's a wonderful quality. Don't let that go. I can relate. I'm somebody who's always wanted impossible things. I really loved that quote in the Avengers movie where the lady who was on Everwood, I forget her name, but she plays Margaret's niece, the woman that Captain America fell in love with. She's in, I want to say, Civil War. Yeah. And she's talking to Captain America, she's talking at her Aunt Peggy's funeral. And Captain America's there along with other people who cared about her. And she gives this speech about how her aunt was basically a force to be reckoned with. And, her advice was to compromise where you can, but where you can't, plant yourself like a tree and say, no, you move. I love that. I love that so much. And I can relate. I'm somebody who wants so much better for the world, and that includes my own family. It includes the justice system. It includes our country. It includes equal opportunity for everyone. I wish, often that the world would just catch up, and I have a hard time waiting for the world to catch up. And when you think about all the unjust systems, whether that is, family court, criminal trials, the justice system in general. When you think about it all, it's like, oh my God, there's so much work that needs to be done. And if you've ever gone through a divorce or an abusive situation, you know exactly what I mean. There's so much improvement that needs to happen. And like I said, if you're like me and you're one of those people that just has a hard time waiting for the world to figure it out, it can be especially infuriating when you're like, nope, just fix it, just end it, just make it better right now. And that's where some of the irritation just right under my skin comes from. Don't let that quality go. Those are the types of people who change the world. The people who don't wait for the world to catch up are the ones who actually make it better. So don't be ashamed, don't be silent. Compromise where you can, but where you can't, tell them to move. So don't silence yourself. Don't muffle that quality. We need more of those people in the world who are trying to make it better. That's how things get better, are people like you. So don't be ashamed for feeling frustrated or angry or any of that. It's all a part of the process. Accept how you feel, accept who you are. If you are a passionate person who is trying really hard, and I'm here to tell you, just like my husband told me, you are a really good person. And you're trying really hard. And the right people see it, and it's not for nothing. Which brings me to my final part of this episode, which I hope will be encouraging to you. I've been in stressful situations where it felt like the odds were stacked against me. And I don't want to get too specific with it for privacy reasons, but I was told by people in this particular situation, you got to just give up. They're going to get what they want. It's the reality of the situation. Just let it be. You're asking for unrealistic things. It's not going to happen. And for a long time, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. But I pushed and I prayed and I refused to back down and give in. I said, no, This isn't right. I'm fighting for XYZ. I don't care. This isn't right. This isn't what's meant to be. I'm not backing down. And it wasn't looking good for a while. Again, odds were stacked against me. And I'm speaking about the justice system. I'm speaking about even friends and family were telling me it's not going to work. You got to back down. But I refused. Months went by. Almost a year went by of frustration, like there were nights where I broke out in hives. There were nights where I cried myself to sleep. There were times where I felt hopeless, but there were times where I felt glorious. And all the while I knew that I was fighting for the right thing. I didn't know how it was going to come together, but I knew I had to keep pushing. And eventually it worked out better than I could have ever imagined. And it was not done by the justice system. Eventually the justice system caught up to me, and I had that moment where I was like, see, I told you. And they knew. And they were kind of sheepish after, if I'm being honest, because they knew they fucked up. What I relied on was myself and my convictions and my spiritual beliefs. And I'm not trying to sound, cheesy or to push off, reality, but I do believe there are powerful forces in this world that move for good that often go unseen. I'm going to talk about trees again. I love trees. I'm obsessed with trees. The whole world doesn't care for trees. The world has built around them. Tons have been cut down, and we need to be, sensitive to that and to conserve better. Yet the point that I want to make is that there are several trees in this world that go by day not being cared for consciously by people, yet they're alive and they thrive and they grow tall and they live sometimes centuries longer than human beings. There are spiritual things in this earth that care for those things that breathe life. You are cared for by powerful forces of light. Whatever it is that you believe in, rely on that. Don't stop praying. Don't stop journaling for what you need, for what you want, for the right thing. There are forces on your side that not everybody can see. And that can be infuriating sometimes because you just want the solution obvious in front of you. But I promise, even if it's not obvious, it's there. So if you have something on your heart that's really heavy, and you're just trying to do the right thing, you're just trying to take care of someone you love, you're just trying to create a more equal and just world, keep fighting and keep relying on the beautiful spiritual things of this world. Keep relying on the power of your heart, because I promise you, you are incredibly powerful. You can make waves in this world. And if you don't believe me, just go back and listen to my episode where I talked about, making the world you want to see. I 100% believe in that. I 100% believe in that. So to sum up, you're not alone on the days that it's hard. And I recorded this episode because I needed you to know that although I'm committed to the life lessons and to the balance and to learning from my mistakes, I have really hard days where it's such a challenge to grasp on to the lessons I've learned, where my irritation and my anger builds up. And I've got to let myself feel it. I've got to acknowledge it. I don't need to bury it. And then I need to be grateful that I'm somebody passionate enough to care, that I'm a good person. Because feeling everything is all a part of the process. That's something we learn in Brene Brown's work, is if you got to feel it all. If you're going to live a fulfilling life, you've got to feel it all. Cling tightly to the people who love and support you for who you are, and don't be afraid to ask for what you need. To tell people, hey, I need advice, or hey, I just need you to listen, or hey, I just need you to tell me how much you love me. And if you are somebody who's trying to support someone now, take some time, write down 3 things that you love about that person's core. Not that they bring you pizza or make really good pancakes or something or have a cute style. Write about their heart. Write about their values. And if it's someone you love, you know their heart. And it doesn't have to be poetic. My husband said to me, you're a really good person. And that was enough. Tell the people that you love that they're a really good person, that you see how hard they're trying. I promise you, it moves motherfucking mountains. One sentence can move a mountain. Try some of these things out. And know that if you're fighting for something right now that you know is right, keep fighting. I promise you, there are beautiful light forces on your side. And remember to take care of yourself too. Keep journaling. Keep praying. Keep doing the things that bring you joy, whether that's dance or music or cooking or baking or just sitting by a tree. I love to sit by trees. I think I creeped out somebody in my neighborhood the other day because I was just sitting next to an oak tree, just kind of resting my head. I was just sitting there, but sometimes when you stumble upon a person that you weren't expecting, it can be unnerving. But either way, you're not alone in what you're going through. You are not alone. And if you think this episode could help somebody who you love, please share it. I would love that. Follow me. I've always got more for you, and it comes from a very real place. And from that same very real place, I want to thank you for coming.